So I wanted to make a rant video on tipping because I really think sort of the cultural and societal expectations that we've imposed on people surrounding tipping is has become really egregious and kind of insane, to be honest. It's like the, in no other field, in no other um, realm of employment, in no other occupation is showering somebody with gratuities a social and moral obligation. And I don't really understand why it explicitly applies to the food service industry. Um, I've read that, you know, 70, 80, 100 years ago, you would tip your server so that your service was expedited, or you'd get the best cut of meat. But we're long past those days, and yet that tradition is still in place. And you know, we're not getting the best cut of meat and we're not getting faster service. So, what are we really getting? And, in most cases, you know, you're, it's, they're glorified plate handlers. I mean, really. I mean, you have your omelet delivered and they're doing their job. And, why does that warrant 20% or 10 or 15% of my hard-earned money? Does the McDonald's employee get tipped? Does the Walmart employee get tipped? Does any other industry where people work infinitely harder or have an incredibly higher level of skill that they've sunk money and time into their education to work in that field? Does it exist anywhere else? No. So why does it exist here for such a low barrier to entry job? And, the counter, the fucking bullshit counter response is well, they don't make enough, so it's up to everyone else to pay their wages. Well, why? If they don't make enough, get another job or revamp the service industry so that they're paid appropriately. I'll gladly pay more on my bill so that I don't have to deal with the fucking ambiguity and bullshit of determining what is appropriate or inappropriate to tip. All day long I would rather do that. But you know what? The reality is in the service industry, the servers don't want that because guess what happens? They collect their tips, they pocket their cash, and they pay tax on their salary but not their tips, or a very marginal amount of their tips. They always underreport. They always underreport. And why is that fair to the rest of us? And guess what? We end up picking up the slack because we pay more in taxes because they're paying less. So how is that appropriate? How is that fair? And if you suggest anything other than what is the social and cultural and societal norm, which is that you have to tip, otherwise you're literally Hitler, you are ostracized, you are, you know, fucking tarred and feathered. And why? You know? Why should I have to go out for a nice evening and determine whether or not at the end of it that what I should tip or what's acceptable? Ooh, is he going to be offended? Why should I have to give a fuck? Well, personally, I don't. But why should anyone have to? Um, there's certain cases where my service is really exemplary, and it's like if you go to a really high end establishment and um, I mean those people are like fucking artists. Like a good server will really enhance your experience. But the problem is 99% of the time it's you're at an IHOP or a breakfast joint or a lunch joint, and it's just average. Unless you're going out to a special occasion where they have servers there that have been there for 10, 20, 30 years and they're fucking masters in their field, you're not getting any more for your money. So why should you have to tip? And I'm not denying the the positive augment and enhancement that a good server adds to your evening, because it can be good, but it's so rare. And we tip regardless. No matter if the service is bad or good, we tip. Why? Because we're socially mandated to? Fuck that. It's a joke. And I really think there needs to be some change in that industry. And a lot of it is the tax thing too. Why are these people not paying the appropriate taxes? Um, I just think it's bullshit. And And why are we not allowed to have an opposing opinion on this? Why is there so much backlash if you have any sort of alternative opinion or contrarian opinion on the tipping and service industry? Fuck that. You don't like your salary, get a better job or revamp the industry so that it doesn't revolve around ambiguity in tips and is set and defined. Okay, you pay this much and this is the cost of your meal. So yeah, kind of my thoughts. Just kind of riffing, a little bit of a rant, and probably nobody gives a shit. Nobody really cares what I have to say, but I don't know. I kind of like making rant videos, I realized. So yeah, thanks for listening.